had the pleasure to work with IBM last year. For me, working with really large companies is not my typical shtick, and but it was interesting to learn about how broad and diverse a company like IBM is. You kind of get that feeling if you've ever experienced them. You probably already understand that they have conferences, like 5 conferences that they put on, user conferences with 10,000 plus users. I mean, completely different products. It's a very big organization, and within it they have multiple cloud efforts. So I was involved with a project around workload deployer. We were just understanding the marketplace and what the use cases were, and I got to learn that. It's a little bit of a platform as a service going on there. And of course, I've heard of a company called Platform Computing, which I actually invited to this event, but they couldn't make it, and they were acquired recently by IBM. And I had heard about the smart cloud concept, but I didn't realize that there was an actual other product. So I'm pleased to have you here to learn about that.
Great. Well, thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you.
So my name's Ian Robinson. I work at IBM, and I'm going to talk about SmartCloud Entry, which is a very entry-level version of the SmartCloud portfolio. There's dozens of SmartCloud products that go up to very advanced clouds. And in fact, IBM over the past few years has been doing a number of customized cloud engagements, both public and private clouds all around the world. For 80% of the Fortune 100, they've done more than 2,000 individual customer sites with cloud technologies, a lot of a la carte type services engagements. And from that expertise, they came up with a package product to meet the entry private cloud needs of customers. So it's based on a lot of expertise. The company itself turned 100 years old last year. We have virtualization for more than 45 years on the mainframe platform. We've had it for about 2 decades on the Power Systems platform, which is our middle range systems, and more recently on x86, our System X platforms. So we are a company that has customers with all of those. In fact, about 62% of our worldwide customers have all 3 of those platforms. More than 96% have 2 out of the 3. So our focus on cloud is much broader than just x86. When we talk about architecture of cloud, it abstracts away the hardware, and we make it so that you have cloud services with all of those platforms on the back end. And really, that's part of the purpose of cloud, is that an end user doesn't really care what hardware it's running on. What they want from the cloud services is reliability, quality of service, speed, etc. So that's the focus we've taken with SmartCloud Entry. We have a private cloud solution. It's designed to meet the needs of infrastructure teams, of operation teams, line of business teams, and their aims are what we've covered with some of the other sessions here. They want to improve the delivery of services. They want to be more flexible with delivering workloads to end users. They want to get away from having backlogs of requests for IT teams. They want to push that out so that end users can provision their own. And so our customers have goals. They all have some type of cloud strategy in place. Many of them are only just getting started. If you talk to any of them, they all have a different definition of what a cloud actually is. So in many cases, they're at various different points in that strategy. With the Power Systems and mainframes platforms, those are 100% virtualized because the hypervisor is built right into the hardware and the motherboard. With System X, it's the same as the rest of the x86 world, where it's about 50% virtualized, with the remainder still in a bare metal form, awaiting to move across to VMs and then be launched into a cloud. So it's something that all of our customers are at some stage in that journey to cloud, and they regard virtualization simply as the first step to getting there. And many of them have decided to make that first step with a private cloud. They have various concerns about putting certain workloads out into a public cloud infrastructure. So where we're finding most of our engagements currently is customers deploying a starting private cloud on either Power Systems or System X. And that's what the SmartCloud Entry product is all about. So they're looking for benefits here of change management, provisioning, installing applications much more quickly and easily. They want to move to a pay-as-you-go model instead of the old cap expense type of model for new workloads. And all of it builds on top of virtualization. So the starting point is a fully virtualized platform, and then our SmartCloud Entry, you can think of it as a layer that sits on top of that. Underneath, you can have something like VMware, you can have KVM, you can have Hyper-V on the System X platform, you can have ZVM, which is our mainframe virtualization, or Power, you can have Power VM. And Power VM is the virtualization that's baked into every Power System server and blade. It's a robust hypervisor. You can have an individual VM with up to 256 CPUs, 8 terabytes of memory, all in one VM. So it's the type of thing that VMware would like to be when it grows up. You can think of the... We provide virtualization of all the layers as well as the server virtualization with the CPUs, the memory, etc. We virtualize the storage and the networking, and all of that needs to be in place to provide a cloud framework. So many of our customers are still over here in that virtualization phase. Several of them have really pushed ahead, the early adopters, with a very advanced cloud infrastructure. But where we find most customers is actually in the middle there, where they're trying to move from a highly virtualized environment across to an advanced cloud. And what they want to do is get started in a way that's low risk, cost effective, where they can get it done with today's budget, not have to beg for millions of dollars. And that's what SmartCloud Entry is targeted at. So the aim is to help customers move from this mode of a highly virtualized environment through to automated, integrated environment in a cloud delivery model. So 4 or 5 years ago, when people looked at virtualization, they would often say, I've deployed VMware or some other product, I've consolidated many servers onto a smaller number of servers, I'm done. It's the end of the road. These days, people don't take that view. They realize that virtualization is really just the first step. It's where you want to be before you can move on to do all the cool and exciting things like cloud and various different types of innovative approaches. So SmartCloud Entry is a very inexpensive product. It overlays virtualization such as VMware. So if you have a VMware deployment, it sits on top of that. It makes API calls to the vCenter API. So very much seamless and overlays everything that you already have with a VMware deployment. Likewise, if you put it on top of Power VM, it makes API calls to the Power VM infrastructure. The experience for the end user is identical. So if they point and click on a database, it could be a DB2, it could be on the back end DB2 running AIX on Power, or it could be a DB2 running on Windows. There's no difference from the provisioning model, and the UI is the same. You just get a DB2 that runs for much longer. So you have this web-type interface. We've talked about the sort of model that customers are used to with Amazon EC2 and other types of frameworks. We've made it very similar to that. We can just pick workloads, point and click. It's about 3 mouse clicks to provision a workload. We have the back-end metering and billing, so you can provide chargeback and move to a pay-as-you-go model. So the front end of it is very similar to the other products that you've heard about this evening, with a simple service request catalog. Really, the key difference there is it spans the multiple platforms and it spans multiple hypervisors. So you can use that to drive, say, Hyper-V and KVM at the same time. Again, the end user doesn't care what it's running on. So a customer could, at some point, have a mixed environment. They could make a switch from one hypervisor to another, all without any disruption to the end users who are using the cloud. It has a more detailed interface for the admins to set up the various different workloads behind the scenes. But typically, our customers already have a set of gold master images already in VMs that they have ready to deploy. And they're mainly using the SmartCloud Entry layer to push out the provisioning to the end user as opposed to it being a backlog for the IT team. So very simple intention of the product is to improve productivity, to take a backlog of work off the IT teams, to deliver self-service provisioning to end users, to allow them to move towards a pay-as-you-go model, so they get simple billing of who used which workload and for how long. And likewise, we have industry standard API calls when we call the KVM hypervisor. We go through System Center when we call for Hyper-V. So we literally provide that from the same level, and to the end user, everything is the same. All of those operations can be accessed through an API, so customers and partners can write apps and build scripts around those. This isn't intended for actually reading. It's just to show that we do a whole lot of stuff. So to summarize, it allows our customers to rethink and really have new ideas about the way they deliver services. In the past, when an end user wanted to get some sort of new service, if they had a project, it usually involved a lot of money, a lot of waiting around for the IT team. They had to get approvals from people for budget. With a cloud type of model, they can literally just pull up a web browser. They could be doing it in, say, an iPad or an Android smartphone, which use an ARM processor. If they had power on the back end, then you can have the whole cloud experience and be x86 free, which is something you look forward to. So all of that gives you the ability to rethink IT, rethink business, and I'd be happy to answer any other questions that you might have now or after the session. Thanks very much.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay.